Okay, so growing food is a very important component because obviously you need food to survive, but you also need all the other aspects as well. Um, Food is of the most important because if you don't know how to grow your own. Woo!
Oh, no.
Wow,
Let's talk about
this wind is crazy. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it.
Yeah, no, I don't think don't bother cleaning up. Even that, leave it, it's okay. It just, yeah, throw it in.
It's okay, don't worry about it.
I think you just have to roll with the punches.
Yeah,
and
you
Yes,
just have to cover the
yes.
window.
Thank you that everyone's so understanding.
Okay, doctor.
Yeah, we work with what we have. Okay, so the main thing about off the grid living is the why. Why do you actually want to do it? And then do you understand what it actually entails? And then what are the driving forces behind that? That is quite important. So the main concept of wanting to be off the grid is to basically break yourself away from the municipality infrastructure. So you want to get off the water, the electricity, and the sewage, right? Those are the main things that you need to get off from the municipality so that you can then be sustainable. All of this has to start with your mindset. You need to decide that you want to change, and that requires a lot of discipline, a lot of resilience, a lot of forethought, and a lot of planning. It's not easy, it's a lot of work, but it's worth it in the end depending on what it is that you actually want to achieve. So lots of people want to go off grid for various reasons, but in my experience in talking to people and so forth, the main reasons for why people want to go off the grid in South Africa is the infrastructure is failing. There's lots of corruption. The prices is ridiculous. Eskom load shedding just taught us a whole new level of we need to actually become sustainable because it really impacts your livelihood and your family life and everything actually. If you are depending on when they want to switch on or off. So that I think was a very big contributor as to why people's eyes opened to why they actually want to get off the grid, right? So also it is a long-term saving because if you are paying X amount every month, that's a lot of money over time. And also the price of living has increased or skyrocketed so much. You know, it's not, the food, petrol, everything impacts your municipality bill, and they are also increasing that, and your rates and all of that stuff. So it's becoming so pressured in terms of finances that you want to look for an alternative so that you can still have a good quality of life whilst providing everything that your family needs, whilst not relying on the system. Because when you have moved or are moving off the system or away from the system, you are creating your own autonomy, and that is what you want, so that you don't have to be dictated by set rules of society. So this is especially if you are living, which we are, in the concrete jungle, right? So we can't get away from it. It's very difficult in the concrete jungle to go off the grid because there are stuff like the municipality laws, zoning laws, all those types of things that curb you as to how far you can go and what you can actually achieve. So those are factors why people, and then obviously people also want to have a good environmental impact, you know. So you want to do your part and cut your carbon footprint at the same time and commune with nature. That is also a driving force as to why people do these types of things. Now, the bigger picture is, and I don't know how most of you feel about this, but what is looming, if you see it, is the CBDC system, which is, I think you've been seeing it this past few weeks. The digital ID, UK, it was going crazy there, and it's actually hit our shores, where they are literally starting to implement it now in various ways. And you want autonomy from that, because you don't want to be dictated as to how you must live, what you must do. So that's also a driving factor. And then crime is ridiculous. In the Cape Flats, it has like really skyrocketed. South Africa is one of the top crime cities in the world, I mean countries in the world. So crime, and we live with it every day. I mean, Lemise's husband was just telling us now this morning that her cousin came and he was waiting in the car for her to come, and she was going to take him somewhere, so he got into the back seat, and then next thing he knows, these guys jump in, hold him at gunpoint and hijacked him right here. And this is normally a safe area. So you are not safe anywhere, because crime has escalated like in leaps and bounds. And it also boils back to the price and the cost of living. People can't afford things anymore, daily necessities, so they turn to crime, because they also need to feed their families. I'm not excusing anybody, I'm just saying those are reasons as to why these things actually happen. And it's real, it's scary, but it impacts our lives. So we want to also break away from that cycle, you know, and contributing to that cycle as well. Now, when we move away, or at least when the CBDC or the digital ID concept is a big factor, you then already are in a mindset of you need to get off grid completely. You know, you are motivated, you have an idea of what you want to achieve, but you just don't know how to get there. So these types of interventions are the hows to actually start, right? So in order to create your own sovereignty, which is very important, because you want that autonomy, like I said, you have to change your mindset, and you have to be perseveringly diligent in what it is, because it's not an easy journey. One of the main things that will impact or be an issue is finances. That will be your biggest issue, because in order to get off the grid, they make it difficult for you. There's lots of laws around what you can and can't do, but finances is, you have to then put all these different measures in place, which costs a lot of money, and they are now capitalizing on it because of what Eskom and COVID has done. People have now opened their eyes, and they now want to have alternatives, because they don't want to be dictated by the system as to their livelihoods and everything. So I mean, imagine your business is making food, catering or whatever, and now suddenly there's load shedding for 6 hours. It's too much time for all your gadgets and batteries and things to regenerate or recharge everything else. So what do? You are stuck if you don't have some form of backup system, right? So these are the types of things that actually drive us towards this. And the main thing is that we want to be self-sufficient. That should be our main purpose. So now what you need to consider is your energy, which should be renewable energy, your water, what type of water system you want to do, your food system, and your health as well. Now I'm going to advise everybody to start small. With any of those things, you start small. So what you need to do is you need to first look at your household. What is it that you want to achieve for your household? And then start changing your habits. When you start changing your habits, that will put you in the mode of building towards your getting off the grid or being sustainable. So your small habits will be around your waste collection, around your water storage, around those types of things. But implementing those habits now, it is a pain, but once you get into it, it becomes a way of life, and it actually starts saving you a lot of money now already, and that money you can then put towards your plan of how you actually want to get off the grid. So when we talk about renewable energy, that is must now mainly the solar panels and so forth. So there's various different types. You can use battery generators, you can use solar, you can use wind, or you can even use a stream and actually generate energy from water flowing, whether it's a lake, body of water, a stream, whatever, you can generate from there. So how the solar panel concept is quite simple. It becomes complicated when it is the size and what you want to achieve with your house and so forth. So what you first need to do is look at your household and see what is the daily usage of energy that you use, and that will then give you an indication of how much energy you will need from a renewable source. So whatever your source is, you have to build it according to the amount of usage that you want. If you want to cut down your usage, then start implementing the habits now already, so that you can then, when you go off grid, it's a smaller setup that you do. But again, it's personalized, so you need to do what is best for you and your family, what will work for you and your budget. If you obviously are doing this in groups, that will be much easier. But if it is just you and your family, start small and build towards it. Lots of people are a bit stressed because if you're looking at what is happening around you, there isn't much time, right, to actually phase into things, because things are unfolding so very quickly. But these are the steps that you need to take in order to start this. So how? Solar panels, and that is the main thing that most people take, because if you're going to take a generator, it's going to need a lot of petrol to keep it going. It makes a lot of noise, a lot of environmental pollution, and sometimes the neighbors can actually complain about the noise because there's actually noise limits in a residential area. So there's lots of zoning laws that you actually need to consider when you want to do this type of thing. So it is something to consider if that is your only budget. It's cheaper than solar panels, but it has all the other impacts on the environment and everything I now mentioned before. And then when you do solar, this will be your general solar system, right? So your solar system, it's just your panels, your battery, your inverter, and your cables. That is the main thing around your solar system. So how big you want it will determine how much you need of all the other stuff. So how it works is the sun shines on here, and then this direct energy is collected in here. It's called DC. It then goes to the inverter at the back. The inverter converts it into AC, and then it can then go into your house, because you can't use the direct into your house. It needs to be converted. But it is, once it's converted, it's stored in the battery. Depending on how they set it up, they can either store the direct sunlight energy in the battery and then into the converter, or they can store it from the inverter first and then into the battery and then into the house. And obviously then your cables and so forth will then link up to your electrical system in your house. So that is generally how your solar panel concept works. And if you want a very big solar panel system, depending on how off-grid or independent from the municipality system you want to be, some people only want, only when load shedding happens. Then they have a backup plan. They would have a small little solar, one or two small. Okay, this is for a phone, but just for demonstration purposes. So you would have like one solar, maybe two solar panels, depending on what it is that you want to run off there. If it's just your essentials like your fridge, or if it's just your computer and your phones and those gadgets, depending on what your lifestyle is, what your business is, do you work from home, what is your necessities out of that. So again, you have to sit down and see what is the type of system you want to use and how will you use it. That will also determine the type of system you want to use. Any questions?
I'm just thinking about, the geyser takes a lot of electricity, and when if one might convert gas into the one in comparison to having a solar system.
Yes. So you can do that. Like I said, it depends on what it is you want to do for your family. If your geyser takes the most electricity and that is the only thing you want to focus on, then there are ways you can, these units that you can actually put onto your taps, that you get an electrical and you get a gas one. So you put it onto your taps and the pipes, and then as soon as you put on the water, it heats it. It goes through this little thing, yeah, and then it heats it, and then out comes your hot water. Okay, but it only goes to a certain temperature, depending, and obviously the more expensive one will be a higher temperature. So again, depends on what your needs are. If you want to go the gas route, you can then put in an actual gas tank. I think they have various sizes for that type of thing. They have one that can last up to a year, maybe more, depending on how big it is. But again, you need to insulate that properly so that it's not damaged or anything. So storing that.
I'm in the process of deciding what to do with that.
There's also the blanket, right?
Yes.
You can then wrap it in a blanket, a geyser blanket. That also retains a lot of the energy, and then because it's retaining all the energy, it doesn't take or draw as much electricity. Then you also get solar panels for geysers. You can actually buy the unit. You see somehow, or these RDP houses, some of them you'll see outside they have a little solar panel with this geyser type looking thing. That is that type of geyser that is directly heated from the sun. And in our household also, the geyser takes a lot of most of the electricity, right? So if that is where you only want to focus or where you want to start, those are the different options that you can take.
Yes.
The option that we went with our geyser is to have a time section
Yes.
where you switch it off, you switch it on, cut our electricity by at least 60%.
We also do that, but it's still expensive. But again, it's expensive because our house is big and there's a lot of air around the pipes. So the water cools off very quickly. So it has to heat up a lot of water all the time. So that's why, yes. So that's why your house structure is also very important. The insulation in your house is very important. And how the piping was laid, where it's laid. Because some roofs are fully kitted, they have, the piping is almost insulated. They have a lot of fiberglass and things like that in the roof as well that helps trap heat and release trap heat in winter and keep it cool in summer, that type of thing. So
Yeah, I just want to say, before we go into buying solar things, let's look at, in every household, the geyser is the biggest consumer.
yes,
I've been to a workshop which thoroughly convinced me. This whole debate on, do you switch it on and off or do you leave it on all the time? It's proven scientifically that it's better to switch it on and off. Whether you have a timer, you must work out for yourself. So I think the starting point is to we switch our geyser on for 2 hours every day.
yes.
In the morning, Friday, we switch it on for 2 hours, we switch it off, and it's enough. So we need to look at things we can do immediately with what we have.
Yes.
The other thing is a kettle. A kettle takes a lot of electricity. So we boil water only on a gas. We don't have electric kettle at all. That's a big difference.
Okay.
Then the geyser blanket. Then this is now all electricity. Then you get those rechargeable bulbs that we all bought during load shedding. You can charge that, use it, and then at some stage what we did is we switch bulbs. Now there's a little trick. I don't have a socket, but the socket that the bayonet goes into? If you connect those 2 points, and you put a rechargeable battery in there, then it burns.
Okay.
So we have a lot of rechargeable bulbs that we use, and then we have in the area in the kitchen we have sockets all over the place. So we're constantly switching bulbs. So we're charging bulbs and using it.
Yes.
You know. So I think we must look at ways we can save immediately with things that we have. rather than-
Absolutely, absolutely, and thank you for that. Those are extremely good points that we need to consider. What we also need to consider, and I'm just being devil's advocate
Yeah.
here, is I don't know how much you know about this, but the LED bulbs
Yes.
has a lot of detrimental health effects
Yes.
on us.
Carcinogenic. Yes.
Also,
Yes.
it is used as a smart tool
Yes.
for spying,
Yes.
unfortunately, if you know more about the system.
Yeah.
So, if you're okay with that, then great. If you're not okay with that, what are you gonna do?
Let's add something about the kettle. If you invest in a very good air pot, our kettle broke and it was such a mess. And so we had to boil water, and then we bought the air pot, and now we
What
don't
is an
even need.
airport?
It's like
It's
a
a-
flask,
Yeah.
but like with the you just throw the it's like a flask, almost
An
like
urn.
I know it's
Yeah,
an
that's
urn,
it.
but with a
Like
plug.
it's like a,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it's a 4-liter one, and our water even the next morning you can store. So if you invest in a very good one, it takes about 3 kettles, and it lasts at least 24 hours.
Wow.
So,
Is it expensive?
How much was it? About 750, I think, round about there. You know, it's gonna save you. So it's about this price of a kettle. I mean, what does a kettle cost nowadays?
Yeah,
So
about
if you have a
200
very good
lakhs.
quality
Yeah.
airport, and you make sure that it's always in lock. We haven't had a kettle now for how long, Muhammad?
Mm.
Yeah, and you put it in there, 3 kettles of water, and we always finish it. So we don't even need to throw any water away. It really works like a team. You kind of find these things by stumbling
Yeah.
across these
Yes.
solutions.
And then sorry not to talk too much, but we combine it. So we
No, no,
store
this is
only,
an interaction.
we use gas to warm it, and then we throw it into flask. So we
Okay.
always, when we boil water, we boil a whole kettle and throw it into a flask.
Yes.
So we make tea, sometimes even to wash up. Another important thing is you have 2 taps, hot and cold. Now especially domestic someone or anyone, children, they come to the tap and they open the hot water.
Yes, always.
Right now, that's what makes the geyser work. Every time you're using hot water. So we tape up our hot water you can't use in the kitchen.
Oh wow.
Yeah, same with at the basin to wash your hands. You
That is
only
so
need hot water when you
proactive.
start. Yeah, we've done this. So
Okay.
and as you say, it works. You know?
Yes,
And the spying thing, look, let me tell you something. At the moment, your phone
that's true.
spies completely. What
That
we're
is
talking
true.
now, you'll see on Facebook, you'll get feeds about sustainable.
Well,
you know?
there are ways to.
Yeah, but very,
Circumvent.
believe me,
It's up to you as to
The
what
phone-
you allow, what you don't allow, how
Yeah.
far into this rabbit hole you want to go.
yeah.
But yeah, definitely. Another good point that the main point that I want to bring through with all of this, that what you are saying is touching on all the, what you're saying is touching on all the time is capital. You have to have capital to invest
Yeah.
in these interventions to save the money. And so on a bigger scale with off the grid living, it's the same thing. Whatever you're going to do for yourself and your household, you need to ensure you have capital to invest the bulk of starting. You can always do a phased approach. Some people do a complete off the grid. Most do a phased approach. That's if you have the money to do that, great. If you don't, a phased approach, but you're gonna have to have capital to at least invest in these small interventions so that you can start saving. And people think, oh, but I don't have the money now. But just think of the 100, 200, 300 rands you are saving every time you use that intervention that you paid 150 for, you know. So the ROI, return on investment, is a lot. If you just think about how much you will be saving over X amount of months or years, just by putting that money aside and buying that thing now to help save in the long run. But there are various ways, many ways, and people find ingenious things. And the main thing about this is that you need to learn to use what you have around you and repurpose it. A lot of us are so consumer driven that we are so used to just going to the shop and buying what we need and just throwing this what when we finish we throw it away. But there are such a lot of things that we can actually repurpose if we just put some thought into it and some knowledge behind it. There's a lot of saving that can happen when we do that.
The solar system or the off-the-grid solar panels with all the things that it comes with, is it not also being taxed by the municipality?
So, at the moment, yes, they have, or they say they're going to bring in a new law where ESCOM can't tax you. But again, the government is always looking for money. So, you don't know how true that is until it actually happens. But yes, they do tax you. You have to pay to go off the grid, unfortunately. So, again, you need to know what your laws are. And different municipalities have different laws. So even if the city or the province or the country has these set structured laws, the municipality has the right to overrule whatever they want according to how they deem fit. So my municipality could allow me to do certain things, whereas your municipality might charge you to sign things off. You know
So
what I mean?
is it like a once-off cost that you pay for going off the grid, or is it like a monthly water, electricity?
Well, it depends on, is it a business, is it a household, how big is the system that you have. I think you pay according to the system that you have. For some people it was once off, but again I say different municipalities have different rules and laws. So some could say, look, but you actually need to pay more for that service of not using us type of thing. So it is, it's not set in stone, but at the moment they are billing you, but it's not set in stone because of that bylaw that can override things.
So do you have to let them know that you're going solar?
Yes.
And then if you use
You have
a
to get it
generator?
signed off.
And if you use generators instead?
No, not that I know of. Not to my knowledge, a generator is fine. But then again, the noise level in a
But I think
residential
they've got smart
areas.
generators
Yes,
now.
because if the health inspector comes or the municipality comes, they can actually fine you or
But they're making
switch you
smart
off
generators
or-
now that's actually like much quieter.
but it's probably much money. You know, anything wonderful costs these days. Okay, that is the basic solar system. Another thing that I want to drive through is these interventions for your water, for energy, for all of those things is important. But what the most important thing is, you need to have skills. You need to have the knowledge and the skill set of how to do practical things. Because if your solar system packs up overnight or whatever, and there's nobody to come and fix it, what are you going to do? Do you know how to fix it? Do you know how to jumper the system? Do you know how to still use what you have around you, repurpose it to survive? So these workshops are around teaching those survival skills in those situations. Okay, and then obviously the generator, the batteries, the solar panels, wind energy is also a thing, but you need to be in a very windy area, and there's also legislation around that, right? So that only most likely only happens like on big farm areas, places where there's a lot of wind, because it takes a lot of wind to give a certain amount. You know, it's not as efficient as, for example, solar, but then again, solar also is dependent on the sun. So if it's raining all the time, it's also not of no benefit. So what are you going to do? Do you have a backup plan? So for all of these things, you need to have backup plans, and you need to know the skill sets behind all of the interventions, so that you know you are set, you are secure, you can You don't need to rely on anything, because the main concept, like I said, is self-sufficiency, resilience, not having to autonomy, not having to depend on the system. That is the main goal that you want to achieve, I'm assuming. Okay, water. Water is a very big thing. You can live without energy, but you can't live without water. Right? You use water for almost you use water for everything, whether it's cooking, whether it's planting, whether it's washing, whether it's whatever. Water is essential. You can live without food for a few days, but you can't live without water. Our bodies are 80% water. We need water. So if something happens and there isn't water coming out of your tap, what do you do? Do you know what to do? Do you know what you can do? Do you know the different backup plans? Do you know the skills that you can utilize to save yourself, your family? These are hard questions that you need to educate yourself around. So it's very important that you actually decide what type of water system you want to use, right? And coupled with water is your sewage system. So you need to consider, do you want to have a complete off-the-grid water system? Do you want a partial? Do you want only water and sewage on the grid? Because sewage is a serious thing, you know. We had about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, there was some problem with the geyser and the whole roof was leaking for like 3 days. But they couldn't find what the problem was with the geyser. Anyway, our water was off for 3 days. It is terrible. You don't realize how essential water is for everything. So, when you are considering your water system, are you just going to use a grey water system, or are you going to use a rain harvesting system? So, the difference is grey water, and I'm sure most of you already know, grey water is what you capture from what you've used. So whether it's, if you're showering, you can capture the water that's just falling, that is not, you're not using during your shower, because that's a lot of unnecessary water just going down the drain. So you put a bucket there and you capture whatever you don't use. And you can then use it for your toilet, for your garden, repurpose it. Then there's also the washing machine, the water that comes out of the washing machine, or if you bathed or something, that water, instead of flushing it away, reuse it for your grass, for your plants, not your vegetables. So because watering your grass and your plants takes a lot of water also. So those are ways that you can start repurposing water, grey water. Start trying to capture. Some people, I don't know if you remember day zero, I think it was 2017 or something, where there was no water and we literally could only shower once a week for 30 seconds. It was that bad. And a lot of people, some people then actually put piping in to harvest their grey water, so that they could then, still either flush the toilet with it, or into their garden or something. So some people have those mechanisms in place already. Most don't. Most can't afford it. But if you just use an old bucket, you can also still save water. Saving water is very important. We are busy going into a drought. We didn't have as much rain as they had anticipated. The dams are at like just under 80%, and summer must still start. We've had a few very hot days, and they say our summer is going to be like that. So it's going to be a difficult summer. We need to try to start changing our mindset, changing our habits, start implementing these little things to start saving water. Because it's not just for us, it's for the environment as well. Because we need to live in symbiosis with our plants, our environment, because they give off the carbon dioxide we need to breathe. They give off, things that actually, like for example, the snake plant or the speckworm. This is what you call a carbon sequestration plant. That basically just means it traps carbon dioxide. So it absorbs a lot of carbon dioxide and a lot of toxins from the air, and it converts it into oxygen much more than other plants, like a lot more. So these are very, very good to have in your home, around your home. They don't need a lot of water. So you can also think of what can you do as your part to helping the environment, because we have to live. We can't live without nature. We can't live without the environment. This concrete jungle we are currently in has starved most of the bees, and the bees we need for food, for pollination. So because there's not a lot of bees around, there's not a lot of pollination happening, that is bringing down the amount of food availability so much, which is also then in turn creating a famine, basically, So we need to think of our actions and how it actually impacts the environment, because that in turn impacts us. It's a symbiotic cycle. It's a two-way thing. We can't live for self anymore. We need to live conscientiously and mindfully. It's very important that we change our mindsets. Okay, so now that's grey water harvesting. You can't use grey water on vegetables, right? Because there's lots of toxins and chemicals in the grey water, because that is just now used water, right?
It's not even sunlight liquid that you feel.
No.
Because I know they also use the spray with sunlight.
That is as a pesticide,
Yeah.
and you put very little in, but you can't feed it to the plants. Okay, that is, it's toxic. It is dangerous, because what you feed your plants is what you are going to be eating. Now the important thing about, okay, I'll get there. What you feed your plants is very important, right? So you cannot feed it the grey water because it has a lot of chemicals in there. So please don't ever, but you can use it on your plants and your grass and stuff, because they just need water. You're not going to eat them.
Whether you use it with the vinegar. The vinegar.
What about the vinegar?
As a spray with the dishwashing liquid. As
For-
a spray for the plants.
Oh, as a pesticide.
Yes.
Yes, there's various pesticides that herbicides, it's called, that you can use.
And for weed killers, in between the paving,
Yes,
that's where you use vinegar.
yes, but you also need to be careful, because a lot of the weeds actually have medicinal properties and culinary properties. So you're actually killing your food that you can be supplementing into your budget and bring down your food costs. But that's another workshop on its own. Now we get to rain harvesting, right? So rain harvesting is the water, when it rains, you are now going to capture it instead of it just now going into the ground and dissipating. So what you need is, you need to put up proper woo,
Guttering.
guttering. I just went blank. Guttering, yes. You have to have the proper guttering and the funnels for it. And then obviously the type of tank that you are going to use will determine or depend on how much water you want to use. So you need to decide, do you want to capture rainwater just for, your vegetables and so forth, and cleaning the car and all of those things? Or do you actually want it to be potable? And potable means you can drink it. So depending on what you want to use with the captured water, that will determine the type of system you put in. So if you're just going to capture it for your garden and for outside external uses, you would then just have your normal gutters and a JoJo tank or something. It will then be captured in there. When you want to use it, either you have a piping system or a tap, and then you just use it as you need it. But if you want to go more of the grid and not really use municipal water, putting in a proper rain harvesting system is very important, because now you are going to have to put in a purification and filtration system, and it needs to have a first flush. Now how that works is, if this is my gutter, right, the rain is coming down the roof, this is my gutter, it's falling here with all the dirt from the roof, the leaves and everything. It's now lying there. Now it comes to the pipe. So by the first pipe that everything funnels down into, you would have like a water bottle. You would have like a pipe or a water bottle, whatever. If you want to do a DIY, you'd use a water bottle. Otherwise, you can just have another PVC pipe or something. So you would have a PVC pipe with a small little outlet where the water would drain. And in this pipe, you would have a ball. So almost like the toilet flushing system. So you would have the ball. So when the rain comes down and all the leaves and debris and everything, and it comes down through here, it will then start filling up, right? And so the ball is at the bottom. As it's filling up, it will push the ball to the top. Once the ball has reached the gutter, it then traps. Now what was left, this is the first water that is captured from the rain, where all the debris and things will be in. Now that little pipe will then flush it out, because you can't use that because it's got lots of toxins and dirt and things in there. Once the ball is up here, it then flows the water into another pipe that you put on to the side. So this is your gutter, this is your flush, first flush, and then you'll have another pipe like attached to the gutter. This will then start collecting the clean water, because now your roof is clean. We'll start collecting the clean water, and then it will take it to the Jojo tank, which will have a purification system in there and filtration, which is just a lot of layers. It's called a biofilter. It's a lot of layers, and we'll show the demonstration later, but basically it is just a lot of sedimentary layers like this, and at the bottom there will be charcoal. Now charcoal is the main or the most important point of the filtration system, because charcoal is an adsorbent. So we know what absorb is, right? You have a sponge, it absorbs the water or liquid into the sponge, and when it's full, then it starts oozing out. Adsorption is different. It's like sellotape. When little piece of dust fall on the sellotape, there's a lot of space that it can collect, so it just sticks and sticks and sticks and sticks. Now charcoal has millions and trillions of these little specks inside, and each speck is like a diamond. It is multifaceted, so it has that type of effect like the sellotape. So there's now millions of these multifaceted areas that has the sticking capability. So all toxins will then stick on there. It can't stop, or it can never get up. It just sticks and sticks and sticks and sticks. So any type of toxin, poison, anything like that, charcoal will adsorb it. It will just stick onto the charcoal, and then it flushes it away with water or whatever. So that is also why when you are having a tummy bug or something like that, you would take charcoal, activated charcoal, because it will adsorb all the toxins in your system, bacteria, everything that's bad, and it will flush it out. So it's the same concept with the water filtration system. It absorbs all the microbes and bacteria and everything that is toxic and bad for you, and it filters it, right? So now it's filtered it through this process. And then what comes out is potable, but always boil it if you're going to drink it, at least for 1 minute, because there might just be something in the pipeline or something that has, sort of gotten into the water somehow, because nothing is foolproof. So even the cars, the air conditioning system, guys, I'm sure you know, the sponge that is in there is black because it's charcoal. The filters in most air conditioners are black or charcoal because charcoal does that. Any filtration system should have a charcoal sheath of some sort in it in order to absorb all the bacteria and things like that.
I've actually seen in somebody's office that they, instead of buying water, purified water, they use tap water which they collect in a glass container, which activated charcoal in that water. You can drink it.
Yes, exactly. You can drink it. So you can make your own. So we're going to do a little demo of a biofilter, that a rudimentary one. You get more sophisticated ones, but the main active in there is charcoal, which is very important. Charcoal you can make yourself, which is another workshop on its own. It's called pyrolysis. When you are making charcoal, you make it from wood, but it needs to be untreated wood. So you can use bamboo, hardwood, different types of woods to actually make the charcoal, but there must never be any paint or anything on the wood when you are burning it. So you would make a pit and you would put coals in the pit. Then you would take like a tin and you would fill it with the wood, and you would put holes in the tin, close it, cover it up with more coals or burning wood. It needs to have like an oven type of effect. And then that is the process of pyrolysis. It gets more complicated, but in a nutshell, that is what it is. And that is how you can make your own charcoal if push comes to shove. You can also use ash, but the ash must be from wood that is untreated. But don't use it for water that you're going to drink, because you don't know what was in the ash, right, from a fire. But if it's just for other purposes of filtering, whether it's you want to shower in it or whatever, you can use ash. Or if you're in a survival situation, you can use your wood ash from the fire, then just boil your water again and it should be fine. So that's basically how you can make your own charcoal. Any questions so far?
So if I few branches cut from my trees and tree stump, and I wanted to make charcoal out of that, what would I be able to use it for? Not for drinking water.
Why do you want to make the charcoal? That's the question. So if you know what the purpose of making the charcoal is, then it's easier to use it. So if you want to use it for your garden, because charcoal or ash is also very good, it's like a nitrogen fixer, and it gives those types of things to the soil and the plants, you can then also do that. Normal wood ash from a fire, but also untreated wood, is also fine to use on your garden. But if you want to use it for filtering water to drink, rather stick to, not every type of tree is okay to consume or to drink if you have a tummy bug or something. So just see what are the type of trees that you have around you that is okay, because different areas grow different types of trees.
A ficus.
No, not the ficus. A ficus.
No, not a fig ficus.
What?
A ficus like the.
Because
Yeah,
It's,
non-fruit. Yeah. I had it as a house plant. It ended up, then I planted it out. It was so big.
So I would advise not to use plant trees. Use trees, like big trees, like birchwood or gum tree or those types of trees. Trees, not plants that grow big, look like trees. So that is the differentiation there. Okay.
Can I make a few input on water?
Mm.
Firstly, we have buckets in the shower, but we have a bucket in the kitchen as well.
Yes.
So rice water,
Yes,
all of that,
yes.
we catch it and we use it. So we have buckets
Yes.
all over the place.
Absolutely.
Then,
Sorry, that is a good point. When you are cooking, whether it's pasta, rice,
Yeah.
boiling potatoes, whatever, that water, throw it into a bucket and use it in your garden. It also gives and that you can use on vegetables because it gives them nutrients as well.
Then the washing machine is definitely the biggest user.
Mm.
In fact, my mom's washing machine takes 70 liters,
Wow.
75 liters.
Okay.
And how I know, she's still got a bath. So I would let it run into the bath and then I would carry it out because I'm very serious about water.
Mm.
So what people can consider is, which we did at some stage, we put your washing machine in your yard,
Mm.
covered, and then you let the water run out straight onto if you have a lawn,
Mm.
because it's a lot of water. that you
Yes,
use.
yes.
Then we also have a very old system, not the modern one you press. It's an old, a big system. So there we found it useful to put a 500 ml bottle full of water inside the system.
Yes,
So every time you flush, you're saving half a liter
Yes,
because it
yes.
fills up.
yes.
And then the most important thing is with water, I think, is that in Cape Town we have free water. Not
For how
only at
long?
Newlands. No, I mean you can go fetch water.
Yes.
Every Sunday, like
yes,
this morning, I go
yes, but
fetch.
that's going to change soon.
Yeah, huh? No, it's Newlands.
It's going
And
to
for
change
people who
soon.
know, no, they can't stop you. You see in Gardens is a place, and I fetch
Yes.
now in Warm Estate. There's a
Yes.
mosque in Perth Road, Zavia. At the Zavia, there's a tap with clean, pure spring water that you can drink.
Yeah.
But I fetch it mostly with my ponds. So I take
Clean as well.
I take 10, 25 liters every Sunday morning,
Mm.
and I fill it up,
Mm.
and it's 250 liters. And then lastly with the Jojo tank, I can't afford things, so you must just improvise.
Yes,
So what you do
absolutely.
is you go to a scrap place, and I can give people the name of a guy, Rafik,
Okay.
and you buy a cylinder, a broken cylinder, right? And you use that as a Jojo tank because it takes quite a lot of liters.
Brilliant.
So from my gutter it goes into that, and we use that also as water.
Those are very good, useful tips. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
so the main thing is people must use, we have free water.
Yeah.
Because you see, you can't
While
beat the
you can,
system.
yes.
When you're living here, you're paying for sewage anyway. I wouldn't bother trying to get sewage. On your water bill, they charge you for sewage, right? So you can't get away from that. But you can go on so many water alternatives.
Would you say it's going to change soon? What does that mean?
They can't stop it. No, they can't.
Um,
It's impossible.
Yes, so globally, they're cracking down on water because they know water is a
It's money to them.
necessity for life. So they're gonna monetize and digitize water.
Yes.
So they are busy buying up free land, free entities where water is flowing freely, where you can collect water for free. So soon you will not be able to collect free water anymore. Whatever water you want to use will come from them. So put the systems in place now to start harvesting your own water. It unfortunately is a lot of work. It's a schlep having to bucket water up and down, especially if you can't afford piping and so on. But there's clever ways to do things, Put little cut something like this in half, put it everywhere, let that then, and then you pour that onto your plants or whatever. So try and think outside of the box when you are looking at these interventions of how to save water.
Sorry, I'm just thinking in terms of where you say it won't be free any longer. I remember about 10 years ago, I saw an article, I can't remember which country it was, but I thought the fact that they were doing it in this particular country, that's probably the testing ground, and it's probably going to happen all over. They literally had people register their Jojo tanks and to see what size it is so that they could charge them. So that we are still behind for many things, but we can just look at what is already happening to know that eventually it's coming here. So yes, now you have to register your
Wow.
your wonder bag. They want to know if you have
Really?
a wonder bag.
Yeah.
They want to know the size of your Jojo tank, everything, even your compost bin, because they will track and know everything.
It's
you're
all under
growing,
climate
what type of
change.
seeds
Yeah.
when you register to go to a particular workshop online, all those things are working against
Yes,
us. You know, so
Sadly.
unfortunately, I said it the last time, the best time to have gone off grid was 30 years ago.
Yeah,
The next best is now. It's
Yes.
like, don't waste time.
absolutely.
Because now it's like the beads falling from the tasbih.
And there's new bylaws. Every time they come, there's new bylaws that come out
Yes.
that actually just stop you from trying
Yes,
yes.
to be independent.
Yes,
and
yes.
And those things like the water, we can say now it can't ever happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
And
all those
so-
things are happening. Just in this week, there was an article about a nature reserve, a plot of land near Hermanus that used to be an agricultural livestock farm. So you think food. They've now all of a sudden discovered some rare species of whatever, and now it's been converted into a nature reserve because they are protecting the land.
Environment.
So what's happening is, and while we are busy distracted by gang violence and all of these things are happening. It's been a change from a farm, and it's probably from a guy who owned it, who got it for next to nothing from the apartheid government. Then he sells this now to Cape Nature, and it gets rebranded as a nature reserve. And then not only was it called Diepgat, and now it's called Mount David. Now, if I just think Mount David, what do you think, Zion?
Yes.
So they're already putting their brand everywhere, and basically all these nature reserves are now becoming pockets of land that's becoming unavailable for use. So as Cindy said now, the water that's available, and they've got all the pockets of water, that the
Yes,
water sources.
yes.
So it becomes now, all of a sudden you're going to find now this Newlands water stream is going to become, now it's going to become another protected area all of a sudden. Oops, so now we won't be able to get water from
Yes.
it. And there are so many natural water sources around Cape Town that there is no need for us to have a drought and whatever, but because there's a lot of water
Yes,
available, but it's
absolutely.
restricted.
Like we have very big aquifers. We have about 3 in the Western Cape, and your aquifers is actually where the majority of your water comes from. That tells you how water scarce or rich your area is. And the aquifers are where you get, if you do your boreholes, you get the water from there. Different areas have different minerals and things in their water. Some areas where you see a lot of boreholes, sometimes the walls are orange or brown. That's because there's a lot of tin or iron in the water there. Other areas are clear because their water might be better. So depending on where you are situated, if you have a borehole, there are quite a few laws that you have to comply with. Firstly, you have to register your borehole, and you have to have signage, because if you don't, then you get fined, and you actually pay quite a penny for that registration. Then obviously the drilling of the borehole is quite expensive also. And then if the water is not potable, like if there's a lot of iron or something in it, you then need to get an RO or a filtration system in there to pull out all of those things to make the water potable for human consumption. So there's a lot of different things that you actually need to consider when you are putting in your water system. Obviously rainwater harvesting is the wisest, but we don't know what laws might be coming. And like Nazira spoke about the sizing of the Jojo tanks, that might also start happening. You never know. So while you can, if you can, try to do it now. But again, use what you have around you, repurpose it to work towards the goal you want to achieve. It's a lot of work physically, but again, your mindset has to change in order for you to stick to what it is, to be disciplined about wanting to implement and achieve and change your life. And that is something that you have to decide for yourself. Are you going to be in it for the long run and then work diligently towards it, or are you not? So it's serious questions.
What's the difference between a well point and a borehole?
So a well point, most places already had wells, and they go very, very, very deep. So it's just digging a hole very deep until water comes up. So well points normally were people that already now dug these holes. But a bore is now sort of like a new well point, but it's not a well point because there's no structure that is like with bricks or something that goes all the way down where you pull water out. Or the water comes to the top and you just, like a little fountain or something. Whereas a borehole, you have to have a pump to extract the water. So it must pull the water out. It has this long pipe that goes down. And then you have this pump, which can either be a solar pump or a battery operated pump or electricity. And then it pulls the water out and pushes it into your system in your home. That's how it works.
I think on a daily basis when you wash your hands, it doesn't have to be wide open, minimal, especially when you do shower water, and also minimal shower.
Cowboy splashes. So, yes, thank you. So in Korea, what they used to do, I stayed there for 2 years. Nobody, when they do number one, they don't throw it, they have these little baskets. And they have people that come and collect it. And then they lay it out in the open because the sun sterilizes it. And then they reuse that toilet paper for other things. So that is their way, but also their piping system was very old and narrow, so they used to have lots of blockages. So that is like a 2-in-1 type of scenario. Okay, so waste management. Now we always think you can't go off the grid with waste management. It is very difficult, especially in the city. There are 2 types that you can consider. The one is a septic tank, and the other one is a composting toilet. Now a septic tank has rules and regulations around it. It needs to be, so it's like a big tank in the ground, right? And your waste goes into this tank. So it's got some chemicals in there, and then obviously it collects the methane and stuff that rises, the gas from your feces, and then the sludge, what's at the bottom, then becomes sludge, and that is then pushed into the soil. Now the soil is a natural filtration system, so it then filters all of this out, and then it uses it as nutrients and basically becomes compost. You have to do testing on your soil to see its permeability or soak away, because that will see is the feces clogging up, is it becoming waterlogged, or is it soaking too fast, or is it soaking away gradually. Those are certain things that are tested, and you have to have these tests, and because the municipality won't approve it without doing these tests, and you obviously have to get approval from the municipality for a septic tank. Your septic tank needs to be at least 3 meters away from the house, from any house, and from your boundary wall. And also where the water seeps into the soil, it also needs to be quite a ways from your neighbors, because you don't want contamination. Even though it becomes compost, anything can happen, and then it can become waterlogged or whatever, and contamination can happen. You could be the cause of cholera or whatever. So those are serious things that unfortunately have to be considered. But that is one way. And also the maximum of the septic tank is 2,500 liters, which isn't a lot. Then you can have a composting toilet. So it basically is, here's your toilet, and it's got this long, almost like a drop hole type of thing, and it's got a slide crevice that comes in as an air vent. So that air vent extracts all the smells and fumes and everything. What is left then goes to the bottom. At the bottom you would have hay or sawdust or straw or something biodegradable like that. It would then capture your feces or whatever, your ablutions, your effluents, your whatever you want to call it, and then it would compost it. So because of that vent, there actually isn't any smell. This is a very good biodegradable system that you can start implementing. You just need to make sure your hole is deep enough. And then once it becomes compost, because that also then becomes compost because of the bio, and obviously you have to have like a manhole where you are shoveling in more sawdust or straw or whatever your means is that you are putting in there in order for that decomposition to take place. Then what is left you can then use as actual compost. So that's another way. Then you can also have 2 funnels in your composting toilet. One will just take the urine and one will take the number 2, and then you manage it the same way. So those are interventions that you can consider if you want to go completely off grid, because that would be your final going off grid stage, because it's the most complicated and difficult. Otherwise, if you're going to go off grid, rather just focus on your water and your electricity and stay on the municipal line just for your sewage. But again, if there is a grid collapse, which is coming, when a grid collapse happens, that normally will last about 3 days. Everything will go dark. It will take 3 to 6 weeks for all the systems to get back up and running. That is your petrol pumps, your sewage lines, your water pumps, everything that we need on a daily basis, that will be affected. So if something like that happens, are you equipped, or is your household equipped for at least 3 weeks of no water, no electricity? And then obviously that will impact the storage, cold storage. So your food will be very impacted, because now there's no petrol that can be pumped out of the petrol station. How are the trucks going to get the food to the shops? How are you going to get to the shops? How are they going to keep the food cold? How are they, so your food's going to spoil within 3 days, and then there's going to be no replacing it. Do you have a little garden in place? And your garden can start small. And like I said, we need to learn what weeds and plants actually has medicinal and culinary purpose values that we can actually eat and use for medicine. So those are things that you need to consider. Then obviously your household waste is your plastics and your wet waste. So you get your dry waste, which is everything you put into your bin, and you get your wet waste, which most people put into the bin. So we know about plastics how, and your glass and so forth, and how you can separate it and take it to the depots to actually get money, right? You get the people on the streets, whenever it's dirt day, they collect all the plastics, and that's how they get a living, because they actually get money for that, and they can then buy food and so forth. So what some people do is they put the plastics in a separate container, because they take everything out of your bin. And then they make it dirty. Some are not considerate, others are, and then they clean up afterwards. But in order to alleviate that, and you want to help them and society, put your plastic bags in a container, and then they can just take it and they can go and get some money for it, or you can go and get some money for it yourself. Now, and glass bottles and so forth. Now your wet waste, that is your scraps of your food. What you can do, there's 2 things you can do. You can start little windowsill container gardening, and this is a perfect example. This was a sweet potato that was just going old in the drawer. I took it, and in a few days and I put it in water. So all you need to do is you would take a plastic bottle and you would cut the top off and you would put it in there. You would fill this with water and then you would put this in there like that on your windowsill and it will grow. This is 2 weeks growth. Last one was 2 weeks ago. Eh? This is 2 weeks growth. And this you can actually cut off, put in water again, and it will start growing roots, or you can put it directly into the soil and your sweet potatoes will grow from there. So you can actually start your own garden from the scraps that you use, whether it's broccoli or celery or whatever. You can do the same type of concept and start growing your own just by putting it in water. This is speckworm. I had a workshop and I made speckworm jam. So these are the speckworms that I picked off, and there was only like 3 or 4 leaves. So I put the stems in the water and it grew roots, and you can see here's little leaves. It grew new leaves. This one was completely naked. It's still busy growing roots, but it started growing leaves already. So you can really repurpose and start growing your own food just by reusing your wet waste. Now other things like your potato skins or your butternut skins or whatever the case may be, whatever vegetable you're using, that you can then put in a pot and boil it down till it's mush. So you put all of your wet waste, all your skins in one pot, you boil it down, maybe add some salt and something, and then that you can either dry it out in your oven, or if you have a dehydrator or what do you call that food thing? Air fryer. Thank you. Or an air fryer or a warmer. Some people still have warmers. Or you can put it in the sun and you can dry it out and make your own bouillon spice. So you can literally make your own types of spice just by collecting scraps from your kitchen and either boiling it or dehydrating it and then repurposing it. This could also then start to be a source of income for you. You could make exotic spice or start selling your own wet waste spice. People don't need to know how you made it. You know, homemade things, people like it a lot, and it's very healthy. You know, there's no preservatives and stuff like that. So that's also little ways that you can then start using and repurposing things to actually start a little business on the side just by reusing things. And try to collect as many tins and bottles as possible, because you can collect water in it, you can grow vegetables in it, you can make fires with it, you can make filters with it. There's a lot you can do. And then
Sorry, I just want to ask, does everybody have a speckworm?
Yeah.
Everybody should have a speckworm.
yes,
You know,
I don't
Yeah,
know
you
if
can
it's
eat
the
it also.
same.
I
yes,
eat
it
it.
is very,
Yes.
very
Bitter, but it's good.
nutritious. Magnesium, vitamin C. It's, you know, when there's a grid collapse and there's nothing to eat and it doesn't need a lot of water, that is what you will be eating.
Yes. So speckworm comes from the word speck, from the pork. So because pigs like to eat it, so that's where the name originally comes from. But it's also called elephant's worm or something like that, because elephants also eat it a lot. But if you are in a dry place or you are dehydrated or something like that, just one leaf has such a lot of minerals and nutrients in it that it will rehydrate you. So you just need to chew on one and you will be rehydrated. It is that good. It has so many nutrients and minerals in it. You can use it as medicine and as food. At one workshop, like I said, I made a jam from this. Because it was growing in just wild there outside, and there was some wild gooseberries, and I just made a jam of gooseberries and speckworm, and it was delicious. It had like a juicy, tart, sweet taste. It was lovely. So that's also another type of business you can start, just using what you have around you. And you can use it for medicine. It helps with a lot of chest issues, asthma especially. This one lady at the workshop was telling, while I was talking about this, was telling me that she was having an asthma attack, and her neighbor brought her 5 of these leaves, and she chewed it, and her attack stopped. Because how nature works is, what the mechanism of the plant is, if it's medicinal, most times will be how it heals you. So because, like I mentioned in the beginning, this absorbs all the carbon dioxide and toxins, and it purifies it, and out comes beautiful oxygen for us. And it does the same in our body. It absorbs all toxins and everything that is causing issues in the body, and it expels it. That is what it does. So if you have chest issues, coughing, asthma, anything like that, just eat some of this. It should help you.
Just to mention 3 or 4 other plants that is also big carbon dioxide is peace lily,
Yes.
tremendous, spider plant.
Yeah. Snake
In every
plant.
room in my bedroom I have stickworm, I have lavender, I have peace lily, I have aloe vera, and I have
And the
what is
snake
last
plant.
one? The snake plant.
Yes, yes.
I think it's what tongue.
Now the snake plant is one over there. The snake plant, you can also has medicinal properties for
Yeah.
inflammation and stuff, but you can also make cordage from it. Now cordage is just rope. In a survival situation, you can
Yeah.
make rope from that, because once you just scrape off the fleshy parts, it has long fibers that you
Yeah.
can then just twist into a rope. Okay, so your house is important. You need to also see, is your house fully equipped to retain as much energy as possible, or is it losing energy or heat, that type of thing. Some houses are big and windy, so they use a lot of energy just to keep it warm, just to keep it going. Like our house is very big, and the way they built the pipes in the wall, we use a lot of electricity for the geyser, because there's so much air around it that's cooling the water off, that is being heated from the geyser all the time, that it constantly has to it's almost like working double time. So these are things you also need to consider. Do you have the proper insulation? Do you have your windows at the right place? Is enough sunlight coming in? Is there enough fiberglass or something that retains the heat in winter, that cools it off in summer? Those are concepts that you need to consider, and then you need to understand these skills. Now, country living, the same things you need to consider when you are busy with your house, but it is obviously much more intense, because now you need to look for plot, you need to look for where you're going to go. And the things you need to consider there is like the climate, the location, what are the laws in that area that you are going to start with, what is the community like around in that area, what is the wildlife like in that area, because you could die from an attack of a whatever. I saw there was a leopard that was found somewhere somewhere here at this on the west coast, I think. It was, yes, so it was extinct for like what, 170 years, and suddenly they just caught it on camera. So you don't know what is lurking. So understand the territory that you want to choose to live in. The climate, very important. Is there a lot of rain or is there a lot of sun? Will determine, do I use a solar, what type of, or do I not need a rain harvesting system? Like those things will impact how you will build your off-the-grid system. Your soil quality is also very important, because you're going to have to feed yourself. So you need to understand what is in the soil. Do you need to still build the soil? Because what you put into your soil is what you are basically putting into your food. If you have healthy soil, your food will be very packed with nutrients and minerals that your body needs to work. But if you have nutrient depleted soil, your food might look beautiful, but it has no substance. It's not healthy for you, which is the case with most of the food or vegetables in the shops. They mass produce and they don't build the soil, and so the vegetables that come out it's got no oomph, no nothing. It's like nutrient deficient, and we are constantly eating that, making ourselves nutrient deficient. That's why we have all these ailments and aches and pains.
So how do we know if our soil is full with nutrients?
So there's a few tests that you can do to find out if it's loamy soil, sandy soil, if there's a high pH or